So ever since the release of the film Avengers Endgame back in 2019, the MCU had seemed to be having a lot of hits and misses, but way more misses than hits. There had also been a few TV shows released over on Disney Plus, such as WandaVision, She-Hulk, and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which have had some pretty solid reviews. Well, besides She-Hulk, that is. There were a lot of folks out there talking about the feminist undertones on that one. That kind of turned a lot of male viewers off.
Here's the thing, Bruce. I'm great at controlling my anger. When incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me.
And it seemed like there was very little interest in what the MCU was producing for a while. That is, until they decided to start filming for Avengers Doomsday and announced that Dr. Doom was going to be played by none other than Robert Downey Jr., aka RDJ. Now, there were fans that were happy with his return, but there were others that were genuinely confused and trying to understand the decision. Me being one of them. He had played Iron Man for several films leading up to his character's death in Endgame, which was a pretty sad ending, not gonna lie. But people still had hope that they were gonna find some way to bring him back somehow. Maybe from another universe, within the multiverse, or something. But I know I was really struggling with there being no more Iron Man. He was definitely one of my favorites. But now they decided to bring RDJ back, but as a villain. And I'm just not really sure if I'm sold on it. Now, even though the MCU films have not been necessarily completely failing at the box office, they also haven't been doing nearly as well as they used to. So looking at that and then looking at this situation, it makes me wonder if they're just trying to recreate the magic from movies past. Because it's coming off a little gimmicky. Like they're throwing anything and everything at the wall, hoping something would stick, and they could win back their core audience. I believe they had hopes of getting something new started up when it came to Kong the Conqueror, but there were some unforeseen issues when it came to Jonathan Majors. But I'm honestly wondering if they're a little stuck here. I see there's something happening with a lot of different characters that they're now trying to revive as well, but I'm seeing a little bit of a shift from the woman or female hero focus. It seems like they might be a little done with trying so hard to elevate the female characters and make them appear as though they're eons better than their male counterparts. But the question here is this coming just a little too late for the audience? I believe people are still going to watch it no matter what, and I think they know that, but in terms of reaching that success that they had in those years leading up to 2019, I just don't know. They've got the Wakandans, the Talokan people, the Fantastic Four, X-Men, and then we got Thor, Hulk, and Spider-Man returning. But then I see Steve Rogers with a kid, so I'm trying to figure out how the heck he's gonna fit into this storyline, considering he's technically supposed to be old now. There's just a hell of a lot going on in these piece here and piece there teasers, so I'm trying to see the vision. I see that they're even going to be bringing back some of the Thunderbolts cast in as well, and I actually like that one. I ended up watching that film on a cruise with my family, but I thought it was actually pretty enjoyable. It kind of reminded me of the old Marvel movies. I think they will definitely need to beef up the content in these actual trailers leading up to the movie at the end of this year, because I feel like the teasers are giving we're still on top of the world energy when that really isn't the case, and they haven't been there for a while now. They need to pull out all the stops on this one, and I don't know if they completely understand that. And when I say pull out all the stops, I really mean bring the fire. Because I honestly think they're trying to rely a little too heavily on nostalgia here, trying to bring back as many recognizable faces as possible, hoping that this would just bring everyone and all the viewers back. In the very first teaser, just putting Steve Rogers on screen with a baby, it just isn't giving much excitement here. And this is what they put out in front of Avatar 3, Fire and Ash, during its opening weekend. Speaking of which, going to be coming out with a video on that soon with my thoughts and everything, but let's get back to Steve and Doomsday. The way in which they ended Endgame with Steve now being much older and clearly too old to keep running around with the rest of these heroes, it felt like a very intentional passing of the torch moment, so to speak. But now it looks like Steve is never going to be able to rest because they're just going to keep on finding some type of way to bring him back into the fold, since his successor, the ex-Falcon, hasn't really been doing that great on his own. Even though I love Anthony Mackie in these films, that Captain America Brave New World did horrible numbers. So now I guess the writers saw no better option than to resurrect the Captain America name than just bringing back Steve. Not from the dead or anything, but just from the past, I'm guessing. But then you have Thor in another teaser who's looking a little more serious, like his dad bod days are now behind him. But then we get to the next teaser with X-Men. You realize that they also brought back the Fox X-Men cast from the 2000s. And I feel like X-Men literally has so much to pull from in terms of new heroes and people we have yet to see. I just don't understand why we have to keep bringing people back, okay? Like, that seems to be the going trend here throughout all these teasers, just bringing people back that just, you know, it's just like, why are they here? And another example of this is when Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield came back in Spider-Man No Way Home. I felt like there's just too much reliance on nostalgia and the past, yet again. But anyway, in the latest teaser, I saw Shuri and M'Baku team up to meet up with the new Fantastic Four, but the Fantastic Four movie was just okay in my opinion. It was a little funny here and there thanks to Johnny. Okay, he usually tends to be the comedic relief, but I might get a little bit of hate for saying this, but I honestly prefer the 2005 cast. I just didn't really feel the chemistry in this one, but you guys could of course disagree with me on that one, but I just didn't really feel like they were a cohesive unit in my opinion. Obviously, when it comes to the Black Panther side of things, they've pretty much been left in shambles after Chadwick's passing a few years ago, so they've been pretty much trying to do their best to navigate that really huge loss. But either way, overall, it just kind of seems like a whole bunch of nothing, since they're just teasers to tell you that something's coming. And I also noticed that I haven't really seen RDJ in any of them, so I guess they're kind of saving him for like the last teaser or trailer or whatever, even though the choice to cast him, in my opinion, in the first place was really strange. But I'm still eagerly awaiting what's coming next in terms of the trailers and eventually the actual movie, even though I mentioned all of this stuff.
Marvel, we need to talk. They just announced Avengers Doomsday has an estimated runtime of 3 hours and 45 minutes. That ain't a movie, that's a shift. At this point, movie theaters need to start adding 10-minute intermissions, bathroom breaks, snack refills, mental resets. Because if not, some of us is going to have to start wearing diapers to these movies.
I'm pretty sure I already know what the plot of Avengers Doomsday is going to be. This is entirely based on what's been released about the movie so far officially, but otherwise I'm just going to be using my brain, my knowledge of the comics, and my knowledge of all of the MCU movies. The first and most obvious part of this whole thing is that Doctor Doom is obviously going to be the villain, and the multiverse is going to be involved in some capacity. We can also infer that because the next Avengers movie is called Secret Wars, we know it's going to be a direct sequel, and we know that the events of Doomsday are going to lead up to it, that there are probably going to be some things that are similar to either the first or second Secret Wars story in the comic. So, like most people, I do think that this is going to eventually result in Doctor Doom basically combining all of the multiverses together and creating Battleworld. The question is, how does he do that? Well, we don't know that much about this version of Doctor Doom. We've only seen him in one scene, and that was in the end credit scene of Fantastic Four, where he just shows up and seems to be interested in Franklin Richard. But I actually think that that is the key to this whole thing.
But what do you guys think about it? Are you excited to see what actually happens, or are you already over it? Let me know down in the comments. I'll catch you on the next one.